Welcome back to Great Northern Cascade Division in N-Scale. My name's Ian, and it has been a little bit of a while. In fact, welcome to 2024, I guess. Been a little over 2 months so since I did the last update when I was building the Helix and then finishing up some of the track work. Things have been crazy around here. Both my kids do winter sports, one in basketball, and then my oldest does hockey. Hockey is the absolute killer. Basketball is finished now. That season wrapped up a couple of weeks ago, but hockey is just nuts in January and February for youth hockey here in Minnesota. So she really enjoys it, but I think Friday we had 1 day break. We had a tournament over the weekend of 4 games. Friday we didn't play, but that Friday then broke my run of I think 12 days straight at a hockey rink, sometimes multiple hockey rinks in the same day. So there hasn't been a ton of progress on the layout, and what there was all done in like 20 and 30 minute chunks, and so I didn't really feel like it was worth really doing much of an update video. And then I had a little bit of time today. It's a public holiday here in the US. So I got a little bit of work done. I realized, I have actually done little bits and pieces here and there enough that I should probably do a little bit of an update video. So nothing really super duper earth shattering. The tracks are still only going to Skycomish. I have cleaned up some little things along the way. Eagle-eyed of you may see that there's also skyboards all the way around this middle deck too. So let's go and have a little bit of a look at some of the things that have been going on. Right, so these skyboards along the middle deck has really been most of what's happening layout wise, and it's still just at the plywood Empire stage, 1/8 inch tempered hardboard. If you want to see exactly how I did it, then I've got videos on why I put up skyboards all the way around the upper deck. Almost the exact same process. We'll have a look over on the Skycomish side in terms of these have been brought forward by about 4 inches in terms of the height of the depth of the deck rather, and you can kind of see that it curves away on this middle deck as it goes back towards the Helix. And so I've used 1x3 risers between the supports for the middle deck and the upper deck, and that just kind of gives it that support needed. A little bit different when we come around to some of the other areas, and that the backboard actually curves away. The Skyboard curves away in places. This is where the Skycomish River is going to make a little bit of an appearance. You see it a little bit more prominently down here for the Salton River Bridge, west side of Salton, where the Salton River goes over and joins into the Skycomish River. And so here, just kind of giving a little bit of change in that scenery at the back, because it's not a super deep deck here. I think it's 20 inches. And so I wanted to have the Skyboard kind of come back and forth. Why is the Skyboard 4 inches brought in? Kind of talked about this on previous videos. Part of it is viewing sight. If I actually bring it up to about my eye height, you don't really, it's actually not that. Here we go, about here. You don't actually get to see a whole lot of the Skyboard. And that was kind of a compromise that I knew. Some people have said, you just lost 2 inches by putting in 2-inch foam. And yeah, I did, but it's because I want to have all these bridges. We've got Salton River, we've got Wallace River, we've got Zeke's Bridge where Highway 2 road guns are underneath. We've also got the Skycomish River. So there's all these bridges around, and so, needed to have some kind of raised here. I would have had to raise it up on a wood sub-road bed if I hadn't done the 2-inch foam. So this middle deck was always a compromise. The other thing is that really, other than Monroe, where there's going to be a couple of little industries, mostly a passing siding, couple of industries, Gold Bar just a passing siding, we have some stuff happening over on Skycomish over on the other side, but otherwise pretty much all of this is single track. It's meant to purely just be rail fanning. Just watch the trains go by, and we're just using this to be able to get between the upper deck and the lower deck. So on the upper deck, this is where Inter Bay Yard is going to end up going in, and so this is that perfect viewing height for me as I'm standing here as the operator. And so this is a little bit compromised. I'm looking a little bit down for the rail fanning, but not too much. If I load it down, it does start to get too low to watch really. On the lower side, Wenatchee Yard would be over here, Spokane would then be over here, and so I needed a little bit more elevation because that's where the operator might be reaching in and out and doing different things. I'm going to come back to this. That's also why I've been distracted from the main part of the layout. But if we swing around, we've also got the Skyboard over here. as we come into Skycomish, and this is as far as we have gotten. Track work still ends here. So if we kind of look through here, these are the supports that I'm talking about, just 1x3 supports that go between the middle deck and that upper deck, and that's what the Skyboard is then nail gunned into. So we have that going all the way around, and I think that worked out pretty well. Well, over here, what else have we been doing? So some of the track had started to enjoy the difference in humidity and temperature now that this sub-row bed had been in for 9 months or so, and so I had left expansion joints. It wasn't quite enough in some places. It was starting to get a little bit tight, so trimmed those, put them back in. What else? I didn't have too much going on over here. I did glue down some of the turnouts. I hadn't glued around where the actual movement is, but I had glued some of the other sections in front and back and wet it down, because some of the turnouts were a little bit bowed, and it is somewhat of a thing with Atlas turnouts. I don't really buy them online anymore. I mostly buy them in person to try and negate that. But so I had gone through and done that. A couple of trans parked up, a whole bunch of cars that are done, and a bunch that I've also bumped off on the far end as I've gone through and was doing skyboards. But went through and was replacing wheels on, the goal is to do it on all of the rolling stock, but I think I've got pretty much all of my Great Northern, most of my Northern Pacific rolling stock done. Yeah, here's the Northern Pacific that got bumped around. They've all been now replaced with Eastern Seaboard metal wheel sets. They're 33-inch diameter wheel sets. Super duper easy, straight replacement on all these micro trends cars. Thanks again to Mike from Pfeiffer Hobby Supplies. Purchased those at full price. It's not really a plug for him, but he's been super duper quick in getting those out to me. So now got a whole bunch of trends. We've got like 20 car freight trend, Great Northern, 20 car freight trend, Northern Pacific, 20 some Great Northern pulled by a steamer. We've then got, I think, a dozen here. Mechanical reefers for Northern Pacific. We've got a few more Northern Pacific. We've got a random Milwaukee Road hanging out. We've got Big Sky Blue, Great Northern here as well. So slowly making my way through. It's a fairly quick process once you get into it. You can do a car in about a minute, but it's also an expensive thing to go through and do. But they run so much smoother. I kind of talked about it before that getting those metal wheels on does make it run a whole lot smoother, and especially because it's code 55 track. I pick up cars for $8 or $10, microtrans cars that have generally been bought in an estate sale, but a lot of them have the pizza cutter wheels, so you need to replace them. Coming back down to the skyboards, it is also curved around here. Exactly the same as we had on this upper deck. It is curved around, and so I had to cut in a little bit to that ping foam because it had just been squares, and so hopefully it looks a little bit less weird now than it kind of had done, where it was just this kind of weird foam. And I'm almost certainly not the first one that has done skyboards where it kind of changes depth, but I haven't actually seen it done on another layout myself, but I'm sure someone has. I'm sure I've seen pictures and I just haven't realized that's what they've done. But it just kind of opens it up a little bit, because then it does give a little bit more of a visual feature. But otherwise, just bring it in 4 inches, because otherwise, if it's so far back, you're not actually going to see the skyboard. You're doing a bunch of scenery just for the sake of doing a bunch of scenery. So one thing that I might need to do, I'm unsure about, is painting these white. I did paint it on the upper deck only because as an operator, when you're walking around, it's very, very obvious. I don't think it really actually did much in terms of increasing the brightness. Coming down here, I don't know if I need to do this. And it's one way I couldn't really paint them until I got things put in place anywhere, and I knew where the lights were going to be, and got feeder wires put in and stuff. I guess I could have done, but I didn't. And I don't know if I'm going to go back through and do it. It's really only a thing like this when I'm doing a video, when I would bring the camera down. If we wanted to come in and look at this Northern Pacific train parked up on the siding in Monroe, then it's very clearly this unpainted wood. So I'm still deciding if I go back through and do it. But I was also wanting to get the skyboards in place so I wasn't having to paint everything if I didn't actually need to, kind of cut down the amount of work that was needed there. But that's really it in terms of the layout. Like I say, no real big changes, just slowly been plugging away on getting these little things done. But with the skyboards in place, it does make a big difference. I need to go through and patch the holes, patch the joints, prime it and paint it. But just having those skyboards in place does make a bit of a difference. So let's look at a couple of the things that I've been doing that aren't directly related to the layout, but just neat little, I think that neat little things that have also been going on down the basement with Model Trends. All right, so welcome to Japan. This is a little bit of a layout that I kind of hinted at looking at building back in October or November after my trip to Japan, where I bought a whole bunch of Japanese trends, pretty much all Kato. But I've been looking at doing some kind of little Japanese layout. So this is a 7 foot by 3 foot layout, multiple different levels, just because that's how it is in Japan. And honestly, I've seen these kinds of layouts before and I thought, well, that's not really how it is. But now having been there, yes, no, there's trends everywhere and they're all on different levels. And so we've got a subway level that will come in, 2-track down the subway there, and it's just an oval, and we'll have center platform that goes in there, cap off the ends so that you can't see that, and so the trains just kind of come in and out. Raised up top Shinkansen track, probably just going to leave it as 2, although I have seen ones where you can get adapter plates to widen the viaduct, spread it out with 2 number 4 turnouts either end, and you have 4 tracks coming through that so that you can park up more trains. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I might just get some of the Suburban DX platforms in, put DX lighting kits in them as well. I think that would actually look pretty cool. I don't want it to become too overwhelming, and honestly, the bunch of different Shinkansen that I have, which again I've also seen on a lot of other little layouts, Japanese style layouts like this, they'll have something like the N700S, and then they'll have an E5, and then they'll have Dr. Yellow, and then they'll have and it's just that they wouldn't all run together, like they wouldn't be all parked up in a station like that. And so I think just having, probably the 2 Shinkansen tracks would work okay. If I wanted to run Dr. Yellow or an N700A, I could lift those off and put on E5, E6 sets, and that would work if they were going north rather than JR Central like this would be. But it's kind of cool. This is the viaduct kit. One of the station shops isn't here. I actually took that off and I fitted lights into it. That'll get powered by an Arduino. But this is the Kato viaduct station set. So you got like the entryway as it comes in with stairs going up and down. There's another station shops, and so the inside of the other one I had painted and illuminated and put stickers on, and just little things that I could do at 20-30 minute intervals. And then there will be another pair of oval tracks that run around for more of the commuter trains that will open up into probably 3 lines, so I can have a center island platform, but that's not where the turnouts are going to be. They'll need to be broader to get a center island platform. But it's just kind of fun. It's a very basic DC layout, just 3 of the Kato DC power packs. I'm probably going to set it so it can switch, so that one will control both Shinkansen tracks, one would control both subway, one would control both commuter, and then I would run 1 train on each line at a time. I don't think that I would set it up so that I could run 6 trains that way. I think that would kind of be a lot, but maybe, and also those Kato power packs would add up in price, but it's just something fun. So you might see a little progress on this. I might do a little bit videos on this as I go through as well. Just a little bit of a diversion. I sometimes call it a palette cleanser as well. When you do a lot on such a big layout like this, it can kind of get overwhelming, and that was honestly part of my problem when I only had 20 and 30 minutes at a time to do things. It was just kind of overwhelming looking at doing something on Great Northern layout, because it's so big and it takes 20-30 minutes to get ready to do something. A small layout like this, that's all DC, that's all just Kato Unitrack. It's fairly easy to do in short bursts. So you might see a little bit more of this, something a little bit fun. And if it's not your kind of thing, then feel free just to skip those videos. That's fine. I don't expect everyone to enjoy it. I know a lot of people subscribe to the channel just to see the Great Northern stuff. But I do think that these Japanese Kato trains are pretty neat as well. All right, so speaking of a palette cleanser and something quite different, a couple of people have asked what is this that I have above my workbench area. So we've got the end of the layout here just to kind of orient you. It's Seattle stations and turnaround loops, and so you got my workbench here. And people have asked what is above the workbench. It's going to be a TMD, a traction maintenance depot, set in nominally late 80s, early 1990s British Rail. So these are all double O gauge locomotives. Main layout that I had before I started building Great Northern Cascade Division when we lived in Seattle was based on Newcastle Central Station, which again was late 80s, early 90s, British Rail, double O gauge. And so I still have all the locos. All of the track here was what got reclaimed. I think the only thing that was new was this three-way turnout. So there are even new sections of track that I still had that never got laid, but all the turnouts all came from that layout. Underneath, all of the point motors, the controllers, the Octopus 3 controllers from Tam Valley Depot, so that they're all DCC controlled. The actual DCC systems itself is just a basic 2 amp NC power cab. And so yeah, traction maintenance depots are fairly common in the UK. It's basically just a diesel maintenance facility. So 2 lanes here is what I've mostly worked on. That would be for refueling, although I don't actually have the refueling equipment in there, but it does have the concrete walkways underneath. It does have the fuel grates underneath the locomotives as well. You can just kind of see it peeking through on some of them. And then this would mostly just be storage track, single engine storage shed. I've got an MDF kit that will go in there. This will be a 3-engine maintenance facility for the locomotives. Again, that's MDF kit that I've got to put in. And then 2 tracks, really just to simulate the East Coast main line as they will be running through. So this would basically be your southbound class 43. This would be a northbound class 91. And then this one that's actually a line just kind of hanging out there, I'm going to have that probably modeled as a maintenance aware facility, so that's where the actual workers will be able to come in and out and get their equipment on and off the tracks and stuff like that. But it's actually serving as a programming track, basically, so that if I wanted to program any of the OO or HO locomotives that I have, I can drop them on that programming track. When I hit the programming mode on the NC power cab, it then switches to that programming track, and it's isolated from the rest of the layout. So all of it is wired up. I can move the locomotives all the way around, and so I had started doing some ballasting. I was also testing out some weathering as well. So some people have asked, you know, what's it going to end up looking like on the rest of the layout? Probably is very similar to this, where it's got railroad tie brown on the edges. It's got a little bit of rust in by the actual rails itself, and then kind of a dirty grime. Probably not that much grime depending on where we're going to be, and this probably won't be the cold ballast either. This is just Woodland Scenic, I think. Yeah, Woodland Scenic fine ballast. I'm probably going to use Arizona Rock and Minerals for a Great Northern layout. They do have a Great Northern blend that I've seen before, works pretty well. And this is then one of the MDF buildings that I put together again, just kind of as a test to see what it would look like, how these things go together. So it's just laser cut MDF that you glue together and then airbrushed, did a bit of weathering on it, stuff like that. So again, in terms of what will the buildings end up looking like on Great Northern, what kind of level do I get to? Probably something like that. And again, this is double O gauge, so it's way bigger than N scale. But again, it's just a bit of a palette cleanser, just doing something a little bit different, something that I can do pretty quick in little bursts when I have had time between all these different sporting events. So that will be a little bit of a crew facility, or maybe it'll be something to do with that refueling station. I'm not sure exactly yet. It was just something fun to try. So if you see this in some of the videos as I'm going through, that's kind of what I'm working on. I've got some more reclaimed pieces from previous layout as well for point motors and grates, and I think I've actually got some maintenance workers and some of the warning beacons that would sit down between the rails. So I have a whole bunch of stuff from that other layout, and so my goal here was that I would have my workbench where I can do the random projects here for the layout and spray booth and stuff like that, but then I could still have some of those double O gauge locos on display, along with at some point all the way up on top again. People have asked about the Class 800 Azuma, LNAR Azuma, that's sitting up there, Hornby models. There is some track up there, although none of it's wide in, but the kind of long-term goal is that there will be some kind of track that would run all the way around the top of that lighting deck, just so that I could run some trains beyond just having this little depot here going, because I do have some longer 00 and XO trains that will be fun to put together. All right, so that's kind of been a bit of a whirlwind of the last couple of months. Like I said, not a whole lot that's really gone on the Great Northern layout itself, other than really doing those skyboards, but it's not quite as boring as watching paint dry, but it's not super exciting. I've covered it before in previous videos. The only difference, like I say, I was brought it forward 4 inches. It's not flush against the wall, and just kind of changing the depth a little bit so that you can get a little bit more of the scenic work going on around some of those river areas along the Skycomish River. So yes, I am still around. No, the layout is not getting torn down and getting replaced by something else. I'm sure people worry about what's happening when it's been 2 or 3 months without updates on layouts. I know I have, and then sure enough, someone's said, hey, I've had this change of heart, and they've ended up tearing down the layout and rebuilding it. I am not at that point just yet, but I do have another month or so of youth hockey here going on, and actually my oldest is going to be playing AAA hockey over the summer as well. She's gotten pretty serious and pretty good, and so she's going to be playing over the summer, but I'm hoping it's not going to be quite as involved as it has been over the winter time. So maybe I'll get a little bit more time once we get through these next few weeks. I think the playoffs are meant to be done about this time, middle of March. So gonna try and get some more work done here on the skyboards when I can do, try and patch up some of those, start to prime them, paint them, and then I do have some more of the 2-inch foam so that I can kind of progress beyond Skycomish. I've also got all of the hardware ready to do the helix. That will go between the middle deck and the lower deck. I bought that over Christmas and it's done nothing, but I have all the hardware ready to build another helix as well. You can watch one of the previous videos where I did the helix between the upper deck and the middle deck. It'll be the exact same process, just a little bit of a bigger radius helix because I've got a little bit more space to play with. So I've got things ready. I've got you know, all of the materials that I need, all the hardware that I need to be able to make some good progress now. I'm now just needing the time to be able to do it, which is always the case with life. I enjoy being a dad. I enjoy going and doing all these different sporting events, stuff for the kids, but I also sometimes just need time to switch off and play trains. So yeah, if there's no updates for another month or so, that's why. I will try and share some more once I've got more of the skyboards done, just so you can see what it looks like once they're all finished, once they're all painted. And then once we get to the point of starting to make progress around through Skycomish, I'm going to try and figure out where I'm going to put some snow shades on the approach into the Cascade Tunnel, and then getting it into doing that helix. Then we'll be back, you know, late March as we start to get into April, hopefully. And even though summertime is the only time you can really get outside and do stuff around here in Minnesota, although this winter hasn't been that bad, I generally do still get a bunch of progress made through the summer. Some people kind of do more work over the winter time, and then in the summertime they slow down. I'm kind of the inverse, just the way that sports schedules work. Last winter was the exact same. So thanks for watching. Please do let me know what you think about some of the Japanese stuff, some of the British stuff, this 00 stuff. Again, if it's not your thing, that's fine. Just feel free to skip any videos that I might do on the future. But it is a little bit something different people have asked, and again, just variety I think is always good. So I'll be back whenever I can. Take care. See you soon.